When I trained for Prague Half Marathon last year, I had no idea what I was doing because it was my first. Now I'm training for the Berlin Half Marathon, and in this video I'll be sharing all the changes that I've been making to hopefully get a new PB and make fewer mistakes. Overall, I focused on 5 key areas: food, sleep and recovery, training style, warm-up routine, and finally, the most important change that I will reveal at the end of the video. Let's get straight to it. Change number 1 is all about food. When I was training for Prague Half, I was pretty clueless about what I should be eating to fuel properly. Let's just say it was a 12-week pasta and pastries fest, and that was a huge mistake. Sure, it gave me some energy, but I also felt heavy. For breakfast, I experimented with oats because I noticed a lot of runners eat them for their quick energy. My lunches and dinners were very carb heavy, but I also tried to balance it out with sources of protein such as white meat or tofu, and of course veggies. I also tried to make a lot of soups from farmers' quality chicken broth, and I didn't hold back on treating myself with pastries like kolache. For Berlin, I'm keeping it lighter. I swapped pasta for rice, and I started adding protein to my breakfast. I'm already feeling better than last year and definitely less lost when it comes to fueling. I'm focusing a lot more on eating protein and aid my muscles recovery. I'm taking turns eating eggs with bread and spinach or avocado, with eating oats with protein powder, which I didn't use before. I was afraid of getting bulky from it, only to learn what a nonsense that was. My lunches often consist of rice, veggies, fish or tofu. I also make myself chicken breast steaks with broccoli or stir-fried veggies. And same goes for dinners. I swapped pastries with delicious protein bars. And when it comes to supplements, I started taking creatine. I used to be afraid of it for the same reasons as protein powder, but by educating myself, I learned I was wrong. Besides that, I also started taking omega-3, vitamin D, and women's multivitamin instead of AG1. And I continue to take performance magnesium just like last year. Finally, I'm feeling better. I have a lot more energy than last year. My recovery is quicker. And as a bonus, I don't feel heavy. Moving on to my second change, sleep. When I trained for Prague Half last year, sleep was still a big struggle for me. I didn't have a nighttime routine or any habits that would help prepare my body and mind for rest. I tried experimenting but made very little progress. For Berlin, I started building some solid sleeping habits, and I even started testing some gadgets. My blue light blocking glasses I wear every evening, and it helps prepare my body for sleep. Blue light in screens or even regular lights is tricking our bodies into thinking it's still day. I used to have a problem falling asleep, and it would take me up to 2 hours of tossing around. Now I'm fast asleep in minutes. Not always, but most nights. I got gifted a Manta eye mask about a year ago, and finally I have a mask that doesn't press on my eyes and light doesn't leak on the sides. I was worried about the size of the mask at first, but I got used to it pretty quick. Thank you, Manta. And finally, I got a Garmin Venu 3 watch and have been monitoring my sleep data. I learned how long I need to sleep, when to go to sleep to have optimal sleep stages, and how do activities or their lack of affect my sleep. I still have much to learn in this area, but the progress that I've made in just 1 year has made a huge difference in my ability to recover from training. And I need that more and more since I'm gonna be in my late 30s very soon. Anyway, on to change number 3, speed over distance. When I trained for Prague Half, all I cared about was covering the distance. Honestly, 21 kilometers scared me. I wasn't worried about time, I just wanted to finish the race. For Berlin, I'm trusting myself to handle the distance, which is why I'm focusing on getting faster. So this time, I'm not skipping or cheating any of my speed runs like I used to do in pretty much all of my previous training plans. Last year, whenever I was too tired or had a niggle somewhere, I would just go run it easy to cover the distance, but I wouldn't push myself to really pursue the speed. And maybe that's why I didn't achieve one of my main goals from last year, and I talked a little bit more about it in this video. Anyway, this time it's different, and I even hit the treadmill when the weather was too icy to go run outside. Between you and me, this is something that I refused to do last year, so this is how serious I am. And you know what? It seems to be working. I'm hitting paces that I couldn't even imagine last year, so fingers crossed. And that brings me to change number 4. Warm up. When I trained for Prague Half, I stuck to the same stretches and warm-up routine for every run. I just didn't know any better. For Berlin, I switched it up. For speed runs, I focus on opening up my hips and doing my activations, in addition to the usual stretches and warm-up from Rana. For long runs, I added a 30-minute yoga session before the warm-up. For easy runs, I keep it simple with quick stretching and activations. I'm not a coach, so I can't say if this is the best approach, but what I do know is that I'm not experiencing as much pain and stiffness as before, so that's a win. Now, I will continue experimenting with this, and in the meantime, I would like to know what works for you. Let me know in the comments and let's learn. And finally, the 5th and last change: priorities. When I trained for Prague Half, I was eager to make fast progress. In just 1 year, I went from not being able to run 5K to training for a half marathon. But forcing myself to progress too quickly wasn't the smartest decision. For Berlin, I'm focusing more on sustainable approach. I have learned the value of slow and steady progress over chasing the next milestone. I set goals that are just beyond my reach, but without risking my health. Did I mature as a runner? Ideally, I want to be running for decades to come. And if I push too hard in my 30s, injuries are going to prevent me from doing this long term. Slow and steady might not make for the flashiest content, but it's a much more sustainable journey. So these are the 5 changes that I made to my half marathon training this year, and in a few weeks I'm gonna find out whether it was a good or a bad decision. And if you are curious about the result, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram. Until next time, ciao!